Good morning. If you gentlemen are ready to start, we'll get rolling. My name is Jim Davidsaver. I'm the Director of Lincoln-Lancaster County Emergency Management. I've got several representatives behind me here that will share some information about our efforts in response to the snow that we received yesterday. I would like to thank everybody for their participation. Our county and city agencies really worked very well together to make yesterday's situation as bearable as possible. Always with anything that we do, public safety is absolutely paramount, and I think we are still, even though we're not under any current watches or warnings for the winter weather, travel is not encouraged at all. A good section of the interstate is still closed through the state of Nebraska. So as I said, if you are in a safe place now, your best bet is to stay there until the situation stabilizes and to give our county and city partners an opportunity to handle their cleanup without any issues. I also have a statement from Lincoln Electric System. A representative was not available to join us this morning. During yesterday's weather event, Lincoln Electric System did not experience any power outages. They were prepared with staggered crews and standby crews to address any outages that did occur, but as of this morning, they had not received any reports of outages. Another thing to consider in that regard is that if you are dependent on electricity for any medical needs, things along those lines, you really need to make sure and have a backup plan. Emergency management always preaches the 72-hour rule. No matter what the circumstances are, make sure that you are as self-sufficient as you can be for a 72-hour period, especially, as I said, if you are dependent on any medical devices or refrigerated medications. Make sure that you have a backup plan. Ready.gov is the government site that can give you additional information about basic preparedness. To introduce the representatives behind me, we have Nancy Christ from Lincoln Fire and Rescue, Captain Danny Wrighton from the Lincoln Police Department, Public Works, Lincoln Transportation and Utilities is represented by Tim Byrne and Lonnie Berkland, and we also have Pam Dingman, our Lancaster County engineer. So I will step aside and let each of them provide a briefing on their agency's contributions and efforts so far.
Good morning. Nancy Christ, Lincoln Fire and Rescue. Lincoln Fire and Rescue responded to 51 total incidents yesterday from noon till 7 a.m. this morning. This volume aligns with our typical volume. This tells us that the public listened to the warnings to stay in and stay off the streets. LFR added additional rigs and staff in preparation for the storm. The City of Lincoln Public Works Department and dispatch coordinated snow removal in specific neighborhoods as LFR responded to those private homes. Snow plows were made available for snow removal escort for emergency vehicles transporting to local hospitals. I'll turn it over to LPD.
Good morning. Lincoln Police Department yesterday for the 24-hour period of February the 23rd responded to 33 traffic crashes. Of those, only 3 involved any kind of personal injury. That again fits into kind of a typical Saturday, looking back the previous 2 weeks for that. As of 10 a.m. this morning, we've responded to 6 traffic crashes, none of those involving injuries. So again, it really has paid off for folks to stay home, not hazard traveling. The roads are in a condition where it is a little unsafe at this point. We will be working with Lincoln Transportation Utilities as they get going with their snow parking bans. We've already been supporting them in regards to the snow emergency bans, taking enforcement action as needed at their requests to help them clear the streets and get that done in a safe manner.
Good morning, Lonnie Berkland, Assistant Director with Lincoln Transportation and Utilities. I just had a couple brief notes. I wanted to, first of all, just really thank the community and thank all of our staff. It's been a long couple days, and last night was a big snow event for all of us, everyone in here, but lots of our operators out on the streets that have been working a lot of long hours. We did a shift change again last night at midnight and kind of re-crewed up, and we got a lot of units out rolling. Did want to remind folks also of our Snow Angels program. We've got not just folks, operators out on the streets, but also our staff at the Traffic Management Center is taking calls, uplink requests. But if you've got issues with sidewalk, snow removal too, that's really a vital thing for a lot of our population. So I want to make sure folks can go to the website, the Snow website, and check out the Snow Angels program for some of that volunteer assistance if needed. We are in residential parking bans starting this afternoon at 3 o'clock. We hope to be off more of that arterial work and start digging into some of those residential areas, but any of those specifics and a little bit more on the detail, I want to have Tim Byrne give you some updates on kind of our current status of operation. Tim is the manager of our maintenance operation division, so I'll turn it over to him.
Morning. Tim Byrne, Maintenance Operations Manager, Lincoln Transportation. We are finishing up doing some cleanup on arterial routes. We are beginning to work on school and bus routes throughout the city. As we get those opened up, we will have some crews start moving into residential areas ahead of the parking ban so we can get some of those streets opened up, start getting some avenues of ingress and egress in there. We do have some significant drifting throughout the community, so please, if you don't need to travel out, we strongly discourage that. Allow our snow fighters room to get in there and clear the way so that we can get the city back to doing business and make sure that emergency crews can get in and out. I would also like to echo appreciation for the citizens as well as our colleagues at the LFR, LPD, and County Engineering for collaboratively working together to provide safe services to the community. Thank you.
Good morning. So I think my first goal as the county engineer is to not have a snowstorm next weekend. That's number one goal for me. Right now we're clearing the asphalt out in the county. It is very difficult. We have drifting in the county, even on the asphalt roads, 2 to 3 feet deep. We're seeing drifts, especially in the north end of the county, of 6 to 8 feet deep. This is a significant operation for us. We are V-plow loaded, we're in chains, we're out there, we're trying to get these roads open. We do want to emphasize that we have continued drifting with the 18 to 20 mile an hour winds today. So we're clearing these roads and they're drifting back shut in about 45 minutes. We're going to keep battling that to try to get these roads open. It's most likely going to take us more than a day. We're working on the major asphalt roads right now. We're also working on the gravel roads, and then we'll move into the subdivisions. I want to remind everybody that when you see our equipment, these guys have been out working really hard this winter. They're starting to get tired. So be sure to stay back 100 feet, give them some room. We have a lot of vehicles that have been abandoned in the county, including semi-truck traffic that tried to detour around the I-80 closures. We're working around those vehicles at this time. If you left your vehicle in a county right-of-way, please call 441-6500 so that we have your contact information. We need to get these abandoned vehicles out of the right-of-way and out of the road as quickly as possible. Thank you.
That concludes the prepared statements that we have, but we'll certainly open it up to any questions if there are.
With your residential clearing, is there a particular area of the city that's going to begin first, or a progression, or is it going to be all over?
For our residential clearing, we have the city broke up into a series of quadrants and sub-districts, which are ultimately responsible by 3 district facilities. They will take a scattered shotgun approach to those areas and start clearing the city in a systematic manner.
Is there a priority within neighborhoods first, or is it just enter the neighborhood and go from one end?
There is not a priority within the neighborhoods. If you are on or near a school and bus route, you will see those open first, and then they will continue to expand and move into that neighborhood.
Questions that we're getting is, do you have any kind of timetable on when you think some of those roads are going to get plowed?
We don't have an exact timetable right now. Again, this is a pretty significant event for us. Much like the county, our vehicles are chained up as well. With the freezing rain that came in ahead of time, we've got a lot of ice underneath packed snow, so that creates traction problems. The drifting creates additional problems. Some equipment is better suited to open those up than other pieces of equipment. We're going to start that residential ban at 3 o'clock. We will start moving in there ahead of that to try to get some of those avenues opened up. But we estimate the first pass through, we're probably looking somewhere around a 24-hour duration before we can come back and get those through. So we are potentially looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 48 hours, give or take, before we're able to get 100% through those residential areas due to the snowfall we received. Early reports, we're looking at 5.5 to 9.5 inches across the city. So coupled with the wind and the drifting, that creates problems for our operators.
Do people need to observe the residential parking ban until it's lifted entirely, or can they park on the streets as soon as the snowplow passes?
Please heed the parking restrictions as long as they are in effect until they have been lifted. Even if a plow has come through your neighborhood, you're on the even side of the street, you see your street has been plowed, it does not mean that you can put your car back out there. Please stay off of the banned side of the streets in order to create safe travel through your neighborhood. Once they get that side of the street open up, if you were to park your car, then our concern would be that the other side of the street may still have drifting or plowing, which could prevent emergency services from accessing your neighborhood when they need to.
The Snow Angels project, I mean, can you talk a little bit more? How can people contact the Snow Angels project and be a part of that?
Go to our city website, lincoln.ne.gov, keyword snow. On there you will find links to the Snow Angel program. There's a map on there you can use to find your geographic area, and it will populate volunteers that are closest to you along with their contact information.
I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the fire hydrants and how that's going to play in with the snow plows, the residential, and maybe how those are going to be cleared.
So we encourage residents to remove snow from around fire hydrants if there's one close to their residence. It doesn't have to be in front of your residence. If you know that there's one nearby your home, go ahead and plow around that or scoop around that. And the best suit is if you scoop that snow all the way to the roadway to make an access for us as we pull up with the emergency vehicle to be able to tap that hydrant with our 5-inch hose.
The variable really here is, I mean, obviously a lot of snow yesterday, but wind, and so one pass may not get it done in the county, but also in the city, I think.
Certainly, certainly.
And I guess that's something to note, too. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but the weather forecast over the next few days sounds like we'll get a break from the snow, but we're talking about temperatures well below freezing. So even though the sunshine, the blue sky is nice today, the wet, heavy snow that we got yesterday is going to be subjected to a hard freeze. Some of the overnight lows may be below zero. So I'm afraid that will complicate plowing operations in the county and the city as well. But again, just be mindful of it, and that's where discretionary travel is really discouraged. If you don't absolutely have to go out, stay where you are, stay safe and warm.
As far as the police department is concerned, are there any normal calls or routine calls that maybe people should hold off on while this is going on, or are you encouraging people just to treat you like normal?
We generally run business as normal during one of these events. Obviously, we always prioritize our calls for service. Something that may be of a lesser priority may have to wait a little bit longer while we handle some of those more priority things, but otherwise it's business as normal for us.
How many city plows are out right now? Is it more than normal? Is it average? I mean, what do we got?
We've got a little over 60 units out, somewhere around 64, give or take. Again, our snow fighters have had a busy year, and we do plan staffing for around-the-clock service. There are certain times of the day that we may have more or less units out than that, depending on shift changes and staff's ability to run. We need to make sure that they are safe for duty so that they can continue providing service to the community. But we do have about 64 units out right now.
And with the ice, I'm assuming there's salt disbursement going on.
Correct. Correct. We've been applying de-icers since early this morning once the snowfall rates decreased to try to get some breakup of it.
How are you expecting the roads to look on Monday morning?
I still expect a lot of slick conditions Monday. I would love to tell you that they're going to be dry and normal driving conditions, but with the low temperatures that Jim was just speaking to, along with the compacted surface that we've got on that roadway, it's going to take extra time for de-icers and plows to mechanically try to remove that snow. So please be cautious, leave yourself extra travel time. Conditions are going to be hazardous for a few days.
Pam, as far as county roads, can you break it down different parts of the county that are perhaps harder hit or are going to be more difficult to get to?
So with this storm, it was definitely the north end of the county that was hit harder than the south end. At one point yesterday, my staff was kind of laughing at me because I'm like, I think we already have 5 inches of snow in the north end of the county. That was about 5 o'clock last night. And they're like, well, we think we only have an inch down in the south end. And needless to say, I think uniformly we have a lot of snow. We do think we probably have somewhere around the 10 or 11 inch mark up in the Raymond area and up along the northern boundary of the county. We have 18 plow trucks out right now, 8 pickup trucks with plows mounted on them, and 23 motor graders. I think the big difference between the city and the county is I only have one shift. I have one shift, so once we have used up their time today while there's sunlight out, we're going to send them home so they can get some rest so we can try again tomorrow. But I think it's also important to note, I think the forecast says -2 tonight. So if we do get to -2, there's not any materials we can put on the road that are really going to work. It's too cold. In addition to that, we're going to start having some problems. We put additive in with our diesel fuel, but when you get down to -2, that's cold, and so you start having a lot of equipment issues.
Do you prioritize roads in any way or just take them as they come?
We do have a priority that we get the snow off the asphalt first, so that we can get those major routes open. Then we move to the gravel, and then we move to residential, our residential areas. So with the way that flows, the other thing that we do is if someone is done with their area, the county is broke up into 4 quadrants. If they're done with their area, then we go ahead and everybody moves to the next area that's not done. So we work on this all as a team. We all go home. We all come in at the same time. We all go home at the same time. And so I'll be at the county today until that last plow is pulled in because that's what I do, and we'll just stay on it until we have the roads open.
Any particular guidance for people in more remote areas of the county that might have emergencies?
If they have an emergency, please handle that the way you would handle any emergency. We are coordinating with dispatch and the fire departments today. If they have an emergency, call dispatch, let them know, and then we're coordinated with the fire department and rescue. So we did have a call this morning where we did have to assist in opening up a road for an emergency call. That is pretty typical for a snow this size that we'll have 1 or 2 of those. And so again, we'll do whatever we can in an emergency situation to get the road open so the person can get the services they need.
Any other questions? If you do have any follow-up questions, you know who to call.